Las Ventas Bull Ring. It's the cathedral of freestyle motocross and the spiritual home of ex-fighters. In just a couple of hours, this place is going to be rammed with screaming Spanish fans, and they're going to be creating a cauldron of noise in which the 12 best freestyle motocross riders on the planet are going to battle it out. It's an absolute pressure cooker.
And if you can't stand the heat, since 2001, the top FMX riders from around the world have been invited to showcase their latest spellbinding and ridiculously dangerous tricks in bull rings and rodeos around the globe.
Every single day you get on your bike and you try these tricks, you're forced to stare fear in the face and take that risk. And one thing freestyle motocross does, it definitely strengthens your faith in yourself, because you get out of this sport directly what you put into it. You know, it wasn't like I went out and said, I want to find the gnarliest jump I can do. It just, my story led me down that road. And so when I got faced with the challenge, although it was threatening for me and I was risking everything I've ever lived for, I knew it was meant to be, because it happened, it unfolded before me. I didn't go in search for it.
But that's exactly what I have to do. I'm searching for the roots, the inspirations behind a sport that pumps the heart like few others. With hope in my heart and sat-nav in hand, I begin my own adventure. If I'm going to ride with the best FMXers in the world, I want to explore the evolution of the sport.
The first people I'm going to meet on this journey are one of the most famous families in the world of BMX. But most notably, we're not in California or any of the other big epicentres of BMX. Instead, we're in the heart of Devon. This is a part of the world not always associated with world-class sportsmen, but two brothers are, in this sport at least, forging a reputation and making a difference.
I started BMX racing when I was 12, I think, and yeah, before that we actually did motocross racing, but being sort of one of three brothers, it's kind of expensive for all three of us, so went to BMX, cheaper, similar sort of buzz, and yeah, we ended up getting sponsored, cut a long story short, and yeah, now we're here sort of 15 years later.
They are the local role models. Kye in particular, he is just, it's like having David Beckham here for local kids that are into football. It's amazing for these kids to come down and actually say to Kye, can I have an autograph on my helmet? And they come down and they watch him and they are just absolutely amazed by his talent and his skill.
I mean, it's funny because BMX came from motocross, you know, it's bicycle motocross, but now it's kind of swings and roundabouts because some of the tricks they're doing, well, all the tricks they're doing are derived from what we do, and now they're like sort of like 360s, 360 variations is all starting to come into like FMX, and that's like just sort of, not, I wouldn't say ground level, but that's basic sort of BMX dirt jumping, really.
And BMX is almost kind of 5-10 years ahead in some senses, isn't it?
Most of it is kind of like them trying to sort of take what we do and maybe stretch it out because they've got more time and different variations, but it's very much the same, you know, you've got two wheels, you jump in one side of the bike, the other, you're going upside down or you're spinning round, so yeah, they are sort of just a bit behind, really.
What kind of tricks can you do on a BMX that emulate FMX?
A lot of things, like knack-knacks, which Leo's about to show you. Yeah, don't get too much more sort of stretched out than that. So, yeah, knack-knacks, no-foot cans, Supermans, 360s, it's endless, really.
The dirt trails were not the place for me to start my training. I needed to build my confidence in a less demanding arena.
I can hear you accelerating through each turn. That's amazing, you can hear it just... Trails especially, sitting watching them on TV or sitting and watching them in person, they can't be done justice on TV.
No.
The sheer size and everything that's going into you make it look too easy, that's the problem.
Yeah, I guess because, like I said, it's kind of like a fluid motion. It does almost look effortless and probably doesn't do it much credit, but... Yeah, Ed?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That was tight. That was spot on. You've got to be happy with that.
I'm really happy.
That was sweet.
Oh. Got to really want to do that, haven't you? In your heart of hearts, because it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not something you can build yourself up to. You've literally, if you're going to jump a jump, you've got to jump it. You can't just go halfway.
I'm going to have another couple of goes at that.
Cool.
And sometimes there's only one way to learn.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. I was more worried about the bike.
You carried a lot of speed out of that one.
So much, as soon as you get it wrong. Ooh.
In 2008, the Fortes hosted the first ever slopestyle BMX competition, Empire of Dirt, unveiling a course that opened up a whole new realm of possibilities.
Organising that, really, with 18 weeks building that, and then for the weather to come through and to be sunny and both make the final, that was pretty legendary, really. I don't think top that. You know, maybe a bigger and better Empire would, but other than that, I don't think any other contest placing will ever beat that, really.
What was most important about that to you? The fact that you got the world's best riders to Newton Abbot, or the fact that you rode well, or that you built such a revolutionary course?
I think probably the fact that you've got the best riders there telling you that you've created one of the best events they've ever been to. I mean, you're talking about people that I've looked up to forever.
There are hundreds of kids, though, thousands of kids more like, that get into BMX, they get into something at that age and their brothers are into it, but they don't end up as world champions, as influential BMX riders as you are. What's the difference between the Forte family and all those other thousands of kids?
I don't know, I think we were just quite lucky, really, that we're not only brothers, but we're best friends, and to have two other best friends always there to ride with and always push each other and support each other. I think, to be honest, that's probably what's kept us going and kept us so interested in it, is you've constantly got a riding partner. And I think that's probably the main reason, really.
Yeah, plus with like old man being well into it, always taken us BMX racing. You know, when we're doing the racing, we'd do the whole national series, we'd go to European races, and I don't know, that just like being thrown into competition from a young age, like quite big events. While other kids are just at school playing football in the park in the weekend, and you're going to somewhere in Europe to compete against men in some international BMX competition, kind of like sets you up a bit, I think. I mean, I finished school, and then I was like, oh, I didn't know what to do. Went out a proper job for 2 weeks, and I was like, I don't like this.
Both of you have had it on a platter to go over to the States. That transition's been there. If you wanted to go and do the whole California thing or like the Texas thing, get involved in the heart of the industry and do the rock star thing, you could. And yet you've stayed rooted here in Newton Abbot.
It's hard to kind of leave behind the reason you are where you are. You know, we've achieved what we have through riding decoy a lot and just kind of having fun sessions, haven't we? And just enjoying riding your bike. And I think if you take that step, it puts a lot more pressure on the whole reason you're there, and you kind of can lose sight of the reason why you actually ride a bike in the first place.
It's not until you travel elsewhere you see how good it is, and you know, we got a close family. I'm married now, and Gemma's family really cool, and it'd be pretty hard to leave that, really. I think it's a bit late in the day for crossing over to freestyle motocross for me, and it's not like, oh, someone's done another tail whip on a BMX or whatever. It's like so-and-so's double flip 70 foot. Like, you can't mess around with that. Like, that's... You're going to hospital, aren't you, if you crash?
Those guys have got to go out there day in, day out and be consistent. And that's the hardest thing.
It would seem an FMX rider is a certain individual, and even for these guys, it's too much.
I've known the Fortes for quite a while, but actually getting to visit the decoy trails and sit down and talk to them, as we have done today, is really, really insightful for me. Mainly because I have so much admiration for the fact that rather than kind of take the bait and head to America, they've managed to build absolutely everything they need from a BMX perspective right here in Devon. For Kye and Leo, moto is fun, but they're into racing, which is one scale. To actually look at freestyle motocross, like jumping bikes properly, is so out of most people's comprehension. And I can ride a bike round a field, I can do that relatively comfortably, but the idea of getting 120 kilos of bike airborne tomorrow makes me... I'm very, very nervous.
It's daunting, but if I'm to have any chance of understanding the sport, I have to get to the next stage. Almost all FMX riders have a background in motocross racing, but if I fall this time, the consequences could be far more serious.
Jens? How's it going? You good? Slightly bigger bike?
Yeah, a lot bigger.
And way more safety gear as well.
Yeah, kitted up to the heavens, mate. Got you, really.
I'm going to watch you two at it for a bit first.
Motocross traces its origins back to British scrambling events. Yet there are only around 20 motocross tracks in the UK. Just like BMX, it struggles for mainstream recognition.
Oh, wow. It's like the decoy trails on steroids. Well, looking around now, how big's the area that you've got fenced off for the track?
18 acres.
18 acres?
Yeah.
How much dirt have you moved?
Thousands, tons, thousands. Some of the jumps have got 3,000 or 4,000 ton in them. I think a lot of people do look at it as though we're a load of hooligans, really, because you do get some people just ride them on the road and don't really care about anything, which annoys me when you're trying to run a track.
I noticed on the way in that you've got the freestyle ramps up at the top there.
Yeah.
How many people do you get here for a practice day, like normal Sunday?
Average around 100.
And how many people use the freestyle ramps?
Only a handful, just my friends use them. I don't really want other people trying them, really.
Why is that?
Just insurance-wise of it. I know a lot of people can jump in that, but hitting a ramp, a metal ramp, is totally different to hitting a dirt jump. Just mainly the fear factor of it, really.
And this is a training jump. How many people are actively involved in freestyle motocross in Britain?
I'd say about 10 to 15 good riders, and then there's a few others that are all getting into it. But the easiest way to do it is just buy your own ramp, get your own land and do it that way. And then a lot of people are too worried about all the insurance side of it. I was lucky because I worked in a steel factory as well, and I built all my own ramps.
Luckily for me, I've had some experience riding dirt bikes. The only downfall is that I know how demanding it is. The equipment you wear for the sport is vital in terms of protecting yourself. So it's time to pad up. The first place to start in terms of equipment is the boots. You wouldn't go near a bike without a set of these on. They're really, really thick, strong plastic. Essentially, this is to try and hold the foot and the ankle together, because if the bike comes down, this is the part that all of this part of the frame and the chain and the forks are going to hit. The bikes themselves are almost off the shelf. Two-stroke, the power's a lot more on and off, and that's essential for FMX. Four-strokes are a bit easier, more forgiving to ride. They're all pretty terrifying, to be honest, to the layman. OK, enough chat, time to see what I've got. It's physically demanding, so the whole body takes an absolute pounding.
I shitting myself when I got out there. I'm not afraid to say that. It's so much fun though. It's really addictive though, isn't it? Every time you come through something and you mess it up, you're like, I'm going to do it better next time. Yeah. And then you realise that your hands aren't working.
My time in the southwest of England is over. The next part of my journey will take me to France. I'm going to meet some of the most insane and exciting freestyle motocross riders in the world.
This is Hossegor, southwest France, about 30 kilometres north of Biarritz, and usually it's the epicentre of surfing in Europe. But the reason why I'm here is to visit the Pages brothers, Thomas and Charlie. They're easily the best French freestyle motocrossers, but they're also two of the most exciting riders on the planet. By their own admission, they're not that consistent, but they will take as big, if not bigger, risks than anyone else out there in a bid to try and progress their own riding, and that's why they consistently get invited to X Fighters. too hot.
You alright?
Yeah, really good. What's this?
Hey, it's surgery that I had after Mexico. They took like 30 centimeters and then they put it here. I hope it's gonna work.
What a setup, though. This is pretty much X-Fighters without the crowd.
Yes!
Tom, how's it going, man? You good?
Yeah,
you looking healthy?
Yeah, right.
Better than him.
J'ai ridé encore 2 ans avec eux. Et en fait, la progression, elle s'est faite naturellement. Ils m'ont aidé à suivre, à finir vraiment ma carrière au meilleur niveau. Et on a partagé des trainings et des moments de ride que j'oublierai jamais parce que c'était top. Tu as pu voir Charles, il vit son sport du matin au soir, tout le temps. Il veut tout le temps progresser, tout le temps faire pousser la discipline et faire évoluer le truc, quoi.
Not that long ago in FMX history, the backflip was considered the sport's ultimate, the holy grail. The extraordinary speed with which FMX has progressed, however, means that the backflip now has an infinite number of variations.
What you've got to understand is to make the motorcycle go upside down and spin around, you have to use all of the moving parts of the motorcycle. You go down to the motorcycle shop and try and move a motorcycle, it just sits there. It defies you, so you use that throttle to kick it off the ramp and send it upside down. But unfortunately, all those moving parts then work against you, and so they keep spinning and they send you too far, or they stop spinning and they nosedive you in. It's like you've got to have this love affair with the machine. It has to help you around, but also if it doesn't like you, it can send you slamming into the dirt pretty quick.
My first backflip was pretty special. I mean, I'm one of the few people in the world that's just done it directly to dirt without the use of a foam pit. And now I look back on it, it's definitely, it makes me feel like a bigger man, but not really, you know. It's just satisfying knowing that I had the confidence to believe in myself that much.
The Pages brothers are inspiring this evolution. They've moved beyond all comprehension. The front flip. Utterly insane, entirely incredible.
Calgary, when we got there, everyone was expecting us doing the front flip. So we had so much pressure and I was going to do it, and I just didn't go as far as I wanted in the contest.
The thing that astounds me about freestyle motocross is how quickly it's progressed, though. And you still say there are so many tricks to find.
Yeah.
Where can it go?
Just watch BMX and see the difference between BMX and motocross, FMX. I mean, we are all shit. This is just the starting. We're just doing a normal jump and then this is nothing. We need to work more. 360 is also the beginning. All we can do is a 360 like that. I mean, why?
You reckon that the next thing will be flat 360s?
Why not? Yeah, everything.
720s?
Sure. Travis did it last time. He tried in the X game. The problem with the FMX is the crash. If you injure you off for 6 months or years or maybe forever, that's the problem. That's why it's coming better and better. The tricks are better every day. The body, the human, is not very strong.
Do you feel like your body lets you down then?
Like to be like a Robocop? For sure, you can do everything. It's an addiction. It's my life. I like it. For nothing, I mean, if I had to pay for doing this, I'll do it for sure. It feels like you've got everything. LSD, cocaine, drugs, smoke, drunk, everything together. Everything together. This is how we feel there.
It means a lot to get to know the brothers, how they started out, how they got to where they are today.
I spoke to the Forte brothers. Basically, they're a bit like you, but the opposite way around. They started in moto and then ended up in BMX. But for them, the fact that they were brothers meant that they always had someone to ride with and they were always pushing each other.
It's also a little bit of competition because you want to be better than your brother. You know, with a friend it's different because it could be a very funny and happy afternoon, but with your brother it could be a very hard afternoon because you want to beat him every afternoon you ride. After racing BMX, we tried the dirt bike, you know, in BMX. Some backflip, the first 360 with BMX, that was pretty funny. And then for myself, around 18 years old, I had my first motocross. And then I started racing, and then Thomas did the same thing.
That seems late. Everyone else seems to be riding bikes from 5 or 6 or 7.
When we started FMX, the level was not the same as now, so it was easier to get in it, you know? So we would never be a good rider in motocross because you have to start really early or to be really good. In FMX, that was different. You just needed to do the backflip to get in.
I love the idea that you just do a backflip. You're like, right, to be an FMX, so we've got to do a backflip. What did you do? How did you go about learning a backflip?
We used to do it in BMX, so it was exactly the same thing. At the beginning, I started to do it directly on dirt, and I broke everything and on my bike. Not me. I was young. Very flexible.
Were you the same? Were you doing it at the same time?
Me, I was just filming what he was doing. Because I thought he was really stupid. So the best thing was to try to build a foam pit. All the mattress and soft pillow sofa and everything we can get and to build the first foam pit. It was stinky.
Covered in rats.
Exactly. Like 80% of the sport is in the head. I mean, if you feel the tricks, you can go directly to dirt, you don't need to go in a foam pit. But if you don't really feel it, you practice in a foam pit, and whatever, if you did it 100 times in a foam pit, and you don't feel it, you don't go, because everything is there.
And you've maybe done 1 or 2 runs in the last 2 years that have established you as some of the best riders in the world. But unlike maybe, say, Nate Adams, where he does that same run 4 or 5 times to win.
Yeah, but it's just different because for us, it's a different spirit that maybe Nate. He's doing freestyle, but you want to be consistent, you want to be good riders for all the seasons, you want to ride safe. For me, freestyle is evolution, I think for Tom also. In BMX, every month I've got new tricks.
2 years ago, you were doing the best cliffhanger flips in the world. You'd got the double grab flip, and you were thinking about the front flip. And your confidence was sky high. But in that time, you stopped riding for how long? 6 months?
Yeah.
And now you're starting again. Even more?
Yeah. If I watch my brother doing crazy tricks, I'm like, what the f***? Why are we doing this stupid sport? One day I got on the bike and I thought I couldn't do it anymore. So I didn't know what happened. So I tried and I pushed myself to do it again because that was what I was doing every day. So I didn't understand why I couldn't do it. So I just continued to do event and going X-Fighters and just I was fighting against my brain. And one day I just decided to don't do it anymore because that was not fun anymore. And in freestyle, if you don't want to do it, you don't do it. You know what I mean? There's too much risk. Now I'm starting riding again and I'm having fun, but I just want to take it easy and do it for myself.
Fantastic. Enchanté, salut. I love days like that. It's so inspirational on so many different levels. Firstly, because I've known Thomas for 3 years, and the last time I saw him, he'd lost his bottle effectively. His head had gone, and he just hadn't been riding FMX. And then to see him back on his bike and riding with that much style and confidence is just amazing. It's so fulfilling to see him overcome that. But then when you sit down and chat with Tom and Charlie and you see how humble they are about what they do and an almost lack of understanding of how any normal person views
what they do and their commitment to it. I mean, most sports are dangerous, but you saw the scars on Charlie, like, to actually sacrifice that much and then still to have so much passion for doing a sport when almost 99.9% of people would just say, you know what, this isn't worth it, my arm's going to fall off the next time I crash big on this, and I really would like to have some feeling. Their passion and their desire for evolution can't help but excite you.
Barcelona was my last stop before heading to Madrid for X Fighters. Yet the man I'm here to meet is not even an FMX rider. Andreu Lacondeguy is a freestyle mountain bike rider, but a very special one.
I learned backflips when I was like 12 maybe. I was doing them for like almost 5 years, and once I was in Munich, I was on a foam pit and I decided to try a double flip. And it didn't really work, but it was pretty close from it. And next day I drove to Leogan for a contest called 26 Tricks. And I remember that American kid doing it the year before, and he landed perfect, and the jump was there still. So I was like, you know what? I think that I'm gonna try it. Let's see if it works. So I just sent it, and it didn't really work the 2 first goes, but it worked at the 3rd time. And I landed, and I was pretty stoked, so it was pretty cool. It was cool that I did it when it wasn't really working at the foam pit.
Em va durar 3 minuts, et vas tirar muntanya avall I pumba. 3 minuts et va durar aquella bici. Tenies, jo què sé, 2 anys o...
She said that first time I rode a bike was when I was like 3 or 2. And they bought me like this little bike and I just like break it in like 3 minutes. Which is kind of funny.
At age 17, he exploded onto the freestyle mountain bike scene with wins in events all over Europe. At 21, will he be the first to land something unseen across all freestyle disciplines?
This next year I want to like go as big as I can with my mountain bike, see how far I can jump it, maybe like do a world record or something. When I did my first backflip, it was scary, but I saw people doing it before. And then same thing about the double flip, you know, it was like one of the craziest tricks ever, but people did it before. But now I want a triple flip. Like a triple backflip is a trick that no one did before, no one even tried. So you don't really know how the jump needs to be, how the kicker needs to be, which is the speed, you know. So this is probably like, this is gonna be the hardest thing to like judge the speed, like see how big the gap needs to be. But flips are working, double flips are working, and triple flip need to work too.
And just like the Pages and the Fortes, the Lacondeguys keep it in the family.
We have a lot of stuff here, those downhill bikes here. And then we have the 2-stroke from my bro, the FMX bike. It's pretty fast. It's like for racing mini motocross. This frame, my brother crashed on a double flip. And then we have like road bikes and cross-country bikes just in case we get injured.
If you have a brother, you got a little advantage because you're never right by yourself. But you always have someone to ask, like, which tricks you need to do on this run, which tricks you shouldn't do. I think there is, like, 2 heads in one body, kind of. I love the Pages brothers. They got the sicker style, too. They're doing BMX tricks on their dirt bikes, and they're always doing new stuff. Like, my dream is to be an X Fighters. 5 years ago, people was backflipping, and everybody was going crazy. And now they're already, like, doing double flip combos and doing the craziest tricks ever. So I don't think that freestyle is never gonna end. I think that every year some new kid is gonna show up and push it to the next level.
It could be that I will see that next level in Madrid. It's difficult to explain just how exciting this journey's been so far, but as much as I can't wait to see the X Fighters in action, I'm more than a little fearful of my own fate. A matador, an athlete, brave, a hero. When he steps into the bullring, he puts his life on the line. In front of 25,000 fans, the pressure to perform is so intense. An intensity matched by the X Fighters. 12 of the best freestyle motocross riders going head to head.
I've got to tell you, I've rarely experienced anything like this. A cauldron of noise that consumes the riders. Every single screaming fan here is aching to see what these extraordinary individuals have in store.
The riders and X-Fighters in this competition right now are at the pinnacle of this sport, because what they do is they understand the environment that surrounds them. When you look at here, there's a 35, 34 meter, it's like a 110-foot ramp. To understand what you have to do to slow the rotation of a backflip from the takeoff to the landing point so you land it smoothly, from a 35 to say a 14-meter ramp is incredible. And these guys just know it. It's inherent in their mind that when they come up to this ramp, they have to be at a certain rev in a certain gear. And most of it is done by sound. They hear it, they know they're in third, they know where the revs are, and at some point you've just got to say, just toss the parachute, we're going for it, and hit that ramp.
What all the riders and the passionate crowd here understand is that this is a sport of extreme risk. This journey has reminded me just how insane this sport really is. These guys are right on the edge every single time they get on that bike.
Looking from like an outside perspective at what we do is gnarly. Like, I think it's gnarly, and I do it every single day, you know what I mean? And it's definitely, I would say, one of the dangerous sports out there. Like skateboarding, snowboarding's pretty gnarly. Skateboarding, you can pretty much knee slide out of everything, you know what I mean? Street skating's a little tech, but for us, it's like we have a 250-pound bike chasing us down, and it's like that thing hits you, or a foot peg hits you and rips your stomach open, or a handlebar hits you, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that can go wrong with a dirt bike. It's gnarly for sure.
Best case scenario is you're breaking a bone.
Yeah, most of the time when I crash, I end up breaking a bone, so that's like worst case scenario for me, and I'm used to it. I've been breaking bones for freaking 13 years now, so it comes with the territory. That's kind of like the only time you get a vacation is when you break a bone. It's like the only time you have off. So when I get hurt, I'm kind of like, it's kind of good and it's kind of bad, you know what I mean? Like, I'm competitive with myself. I like to go out there and do good and be one of the best guys out there, but at the same time, sometimes that vacation's needed, you know what I mean? So that's when you just get to get home and just chill with the family and just hang out and not worry about a bike for like 3 or 4 months.
And no one pushes the boundaries of the sport harder than Robbie Maddison. Of all the riders on the circuit, Robbie seems to embrace the dangers of FMX like no other.
It's almost meditation out there, you know, just because you kind of like stripped of your worries. When you're on the bike, there's no time for any outside thinking, you know. You got to be in the moment, eyes on the prize, like really focused. Otherwise, you know, your next movement forwards could be, you know, a hell of a trip. You know, you stray into a tree or a rock, or you know, in my case, doing the tricks, it could be the end of you. I have this passion for jumping. I just love the feeling of catching air and just and the 0 G's you get, you're floating up there. So, you know, once I started jumping and saw all these tricks that I had laying ahead of me to master, I mean, it's just something that just captivated my whole life then.
You've pretty much taken that 0 G fantasy to its absolute limits.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the best hang time I ever had was jumping onto the roof of the Arc de Triomphe in Las Vegas, you know, stepping up 100 feet. Right when I get to the arc of the jump, I pretty much I stop moving, you know, and I just drop onto the roof. And it's such a great feeling to kind of slow down and reach that apex above the roof. If I had to reach that apex, you know, a few feet short of the roof, it would have been a big drop back down. But you know, even with the long distance jumps, you know, they've 5 seconds of air time jumping over a football field, and it's pretty crazy. It's not jumping a dirt bike anymore, it's flying. It's flying.
We've talked about this before, but your fear threshold is so far beyond any normal person's comprehension.
You know, I was still fearful the first time I went for a long distance jump, but I got myself to a level where I was kind of confident with taking the risk, and now the risks I take have, you know, are crazy to me. You know, when I sit down and think about it, sometimes I can't even picture the jumps that I've already done, just because, you know, I start thinking, what if something went wrong, you know, and realise I would have definitely died, no questions about it. Now you know why I shake my head for. I mean, it's the anxiety, you know, like midweek, especially if I go like 3 weeks off, in the middle of that time, I don't twitch, I don't shake my head much, and it comes about it with the anxiety of the events, and it's just how I release the stress, you know, and I don't know. It's one thing that I'm conscious of. I know I shake my head. I wish I didn't, but it's. But this sport, it just brings that kind of intensity to you. It can turn you inside out, and I've seen it turn some of the greatest athletes away from this sport. You get this feeling, don't ride today. You know, it's a composure comes over you, and usually when you don't listen to that and you go out and you crash, 90% of the guys get up and say, I knew that was going to happen.
Really?
Not because no one told them, they just felt it, you know. And it's what this sport's about. It's about having that feeling and knowing like when it's a good time to push and when it's not. And yeah, I've learned. I've broken a lot of the injuries I've had where I've broken arms and collarbones and all the other breaks I've had. They've all been on days like this where I haven't seen the signs coming. I paid the price and learned the hard way. And these are the days where, you know, every time I see one of my fellow friends get injured, you know, hope that they make it through. But they're all opportunities, they're learning days. That, you know, every time you get hurt, that's a day you need to go back and look at yourself and think, what did I do wrong? Why did this happen? And if you're able to make changes and understand it, you're moving forward. You're going to become a better rider and a better athlete, and you're going to push the bar higher because you're doing it in a wise way, not a reckless way.
When you see someone crash or get hurt, it's obviously terrifying for anyone to see it. But when you really know the guys and you understand the difficulties they've gone through over the last while to get to the event and to try to do a specific trick and then it doesn't work out, you know, it's terrifying, and it's kind of like heartbreaking for the guys at the same time. I mean, obviously last year, Cam's double flip crash is a good example. But again, way back in the day, 2003, with Mike Jones over here in Madrid, there'd been a lot of talk about him finally going for the backflip. And in his run, he decided to pull a backflip. But as he went off the ramp, he just stalled out. And we pretty much just watched in slow motion as he just basically stuck under the bike and just got punished into the ground, like completely underneath the bike. So it's pretty scary, you know, when you've been chatting to a guy an hour or two before and then you just see him completely carnage himself. It's
right now, Spain can put forward a decent argument to be the world's leading sports nation. The football team, Rafa Nadal, Contador. But even allowing for all that, there was a unique atmosphere building on the streets of Madrid. The smell of two-stroke was in the air.
This has been an incredible journey, and not necessarily geographically, but more for me in the fact I've learned so much about a sport I thought I knew so well. There's this media facade of tattooed bad boys running the sport, and instead when you scratch the surface, you find that it's actually really open, and there are a lot of familial ties, whether they're brothers or father and son relationships. As you may or may not have guessed, unlike the rest of the sports we've covered in this series, I've got a little bit of history with X-Fighters. But what that experience means is that I can guarantee you that this is the best event on the X-Fighters tour. What goes on inside that arena tonight will give you goosebumps. The noise, the pressure, the atmosphere is absolutely mind-blowing. This is pretty much the inner sanctum of X-Fighters. It's the riders' pit area, and they're all laid out. But the fantastic part of this, if you look round, over there, you've got Antoine Ribaud, his son Matt, obviously second place in qualifying tonight, and he's his mechanic. And the red T-shirt there with his back to us is Ramon Torres, Danny's dad, again, his mechanic. There's that father-son relationship, a huge amount of trust. So many people expect it to be a real rock star atmosphere in here, but it isn't like that. These guys need close people, people they can trust around them, and family. Nothing is better than family.
Like the rest of the 25,000 screaming fans in the Las Ventas bullring, I was awestruck by the likes of Robbie, Matt Ribaud and local boy Danny Torres. Yet again, they took FMX to another level with some of the most ludicrous tricks you will ever see. You should be sectioned for even dreaming up some of the tricks these guys were nailing. Robbie Maddison was once again the star in Madrid. A brand new trick, the vault, where he manages a full rotation of his body off the bike, helped him win overall victory on the night. Not for the first time, it's Robbie raising the bar for the rest to follow. And trust me, they will. My pulse has barely slowed, and yet for me, this adventure is a long way from over. I'm in Prague. It's one of Europe's most beautiful cities, but right now I'm not thinking about its museums or architecture. My place of interest is a compound on the outskirts of the city. I'm meeting Petr Pilat, FMX's young star. I'm here to witness him doing a tandem backflip. Well, I say witness, I actually mean take part.
Ready?
As I'll ever be. You said that you landed your first backflip at 14.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy because when I was 13, I had pretty big injured. 7 months after the crash, I started riding again, and of course freestyle a little bit, small jumps. It was fun, and I say to my father that I would like try a little bit flip on bicycle to foam pit, and I tried, and it was without problem. I did it every time, it was perfect, and I say, oh, so I can try a motorcycle, but in this time in Europe was only maybe 3, 4, 5 foam pits, no more. So we come to Italy to foam pit, and first flip was a little bit upside down landing, and after every time I did it without problem, so I was so happy. And I said, hey father, my father, hey dad, I can do it on dirt. And he say, oh, I don't know, he was definitely scary. I understand him. in this time I was the youngest man on the world who did it.
When I started talking to anyone about actually doing a tandem backflip, like there were only 2 names that came up. It's either Travis Pastrana or Petr Pilat.
Yeah, it's perfect.
But you're 19 years old, and I'll be honest, there's not many 19-year-olds that I trust with my laundry, let alone, like, I've done a few things, but this is probably the most dangerous thing I've ever let myself in for, I think. Why are you qualified to do this?
Travis was first who did it. Yeah. The tandem flip, and when I saw some videos and something like that, I say, yeah, it's pretty good. I can do without problem too. And so, but the biggest problem was who will be my passenger? Who will be first? Yeah, you know. I say some of my friends, and hey, do you want to try with me? I say, are you kidding with me? Me with me? No, no way.
I've seen hundreds of backflips on motorbikes, but never knowing that I was going to be on the bike next. That's really frightening. I don't want to show him that I'm scared, though. How quickly will we stop going into that?
It will be fine. So we can do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so come on.
Oh my God. I was absolutely tweaking then. Absolutely tweaking. Oh. I'll tell you one thing, I could not do that for a living. That is... Oh.
That's really easy.
For you?
Yeah, definitely.
The view. You said it was going to be over really quickly. For anyone, I've spent a bit of time in the air. That was just... I've had a little bit of time just to gather my thoughts and let the adrenaline seep out of my system. If 2 weeks ago you'd have told me that I was going to be doing a tandem backflip in a yard on the outskirts of Prague, I certainly wouldn't have believed you. Less than 10 people in the world have actually done that. The sensation of freestyle motocross is unlike anything else on this planet.
Next week, I will be getting my skates on as I chase the winter season around the world, learning about the sport of the century, crashed ice. This is my last adventure, and what a ride it's going to be. To watch a crashed ice competition for the first time is to be left breathless by the sheer scale and drama of it all. With speeds reaching up to 50 miles per hour down one of the most unforgiving ice tracks, with gap jumps, 30-degree slopes and chicanes, this is one of the world's newest and most dangerous sports. From ski-across athletes to ice hockey players, from Sweden to Quebec, this voyage will eventually take me to the Munich, hosts to the Crashed Ice World Championship.